Ben Shapiro, a celebrity of sorts, interviewed Neil deGrasse Tyson, apparently a scientist of sorts, asking him to address the question of womanhood. Can our science help us understand what a woman is? Can it help us settle the question of gender? And this scientist answers that he can give his own personal opinion, but that science should not be held responsible for settling the gender question, the problem of what a woman is. Why? His argument is that truth should be kept away from political life. Our scientists, he believes in modern science, our scientists could discover the truth. But truth is dangerous to political life. It is dangerous to democracy. And so we should not use science, politicians especially, should not use science to advance any cause, any political cause, to make any political decision. They say, well, this is, what are you going to do with this? What are you going to do with the data that science gives you? Or even the conclusions that science reaches? Science determines that there is a way, a scientific way to determine what a woman is. Okay, so now we know that certain people who call themselves women are not really women. Now, Tyson's problem is, what are we going to do with this? Are we going to restrict the rights of these people who call themselves women, who identify themselves as women? Shouldn't we let them identify themselves as they wish? Isn't this democracy? Isn't this freedom? Isn't it very dangerous for the government to establish limitations on the way people identify themselves? On what they can identify themselves as, what they cannot? Who is to say? All right, what about scientists saying, well, you identify yourself as a woman, but you're not really a woman? Dangerous. Science should be kept away from the people, he says. Now, Ben Shapiro says, well, but surely, science can help us. Truth can help us understand that these people who identify themselves as women and who are not women are just delusional. Gender dysphoria is an issue that he raises. And the other guy says, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they're delusional or not. What counts is that they have a right to live as they please. And Ben Shapiro doesn't really object to that because he says, well, I'm a libertarian. You sound like a libertarian too. So we're all libertarians. Let's do as we please. I want to be an Orthodox Jew. I'll have the right to be an Orthodox Jew. You'll have a right to identify as a woman, even though you're not. But who's to say? And who's to say that I'm not an Orthodox Jew and I'm just pretending? You see? So, of course, there comes a point where, I identify as a frog. And I want society to conform to my new identity. I identify as an alien. I want this whole planet to conform to my new identity. I want this planet to turn into an alien planet. Of course, this planet should be compatible with your being an Orthodox Jew, Mr. Ben Shapiro. But it should also be compatible with my being a frog. So how do you settle that matter, Mr. Ben Shapiro? And what about you, Tyson? Recycling the old doctrine of double truth. There's a truth for science, and there's the moral political truth, which is relativism under question mark. What is managing the pluralism of views, of moral choices, of choices that are cut off from truth and are thus objectively, as they say, mad? I identify as a frog. Who's to say that I don't have a right to identify as a frog, to live as a frog? If I want, if I can, I'll do it. Nobody, especially no statesman, should limit my rights, right? Well, as long as they're compatible with other people's, yes. But the problem here is that if everyone's right is privatized in this way, cut off from truth, then we have an issue, right? I will not impinge upon others' rights because I will be in my little cage, and everybody will be in his little cage. Is that political life? Is that what the founding fathers of the nation called for? The severing of political moral life from truth? Is that what America is to be? Is that what we identify America with? About 20 years ago, I heard a Chinese representative of the Chinese Communist Party speak at a conference on international law at a university in the United States. Dozens of professors, American professors, attending. And the guy says, well, look, here is the model for democracy. The model that we cherish in China. Big fish eats little fish, and the state supports the big fish that has succeeded in eating the small fish. So there you have it. Then the bigger fish comes and eats the big one, and the state jumps onto supporting the biggest one. And where does this lead us? So I asked this gentleman, who wasn't very gentlemanly, I asked them, so what is where do you draw the line between your model of democracy and totalitarianism? He says, well, this is a very shady line. It's hard to distinguish the two from each other. And nobody objected. Everybody clapped his hands. Mr. Tyson agrees with that, the communist. He says, well, political life, moral life is cut off from truth. Truth is bad for democracy. Truth is there. The human political reality is a parallel universe. Now, truth belongs to the gods. Men partake not in divine truth. This is obscurantism. These fellows who present themselves as libertarians or as scientists today are obscurantists. The founding fathers of America called for dialogue between truth and politics, morality. You sever that original link between the two, original as they understood it, a natural link. You see, how did we do this? And what does this involve, this severing of the... Well, you got rid of common sense. You accepted a Machiavellian conception of both science and politics, or morality. Morality is all private will to power. Everybody's, and on his own, seeking his own thing, his own identity, his own, to establish, to affirm his own identity, which may very well, of course, incarnate the cosmic will to power in Nietzsche's terms. But, and what about science? Science, truth, is data. How does the data support our cause? So, science becomes ideological, ideology. Inseparable from ideology today. Science is an instrument to make decisions about politics. But he says, well, Tyson says, no, we're not supposed to do that. So what happens then? Well, what if science is established as utterly incapable of guiding politics? Politics is guided by what? Not by knowledge. Scientia, science, means knowledge. Not by knowledge. What is politics guided by then? Well, politics becomes a machine that manages all of these points of views, all of these people who in their private little cells, identify themselves as whatever they wish. Identify as a frog. So be it. You identify as Mr. Ben Shapiro as a Orthodox Jew. So that's what politics is now. It's a machine that manages, places everybody in a little cell. They say, what about science then? What does science do? Well, science turns out to be a machine itself that produces toys that help, the technology that helps the politicians, the government, keep everybody in check. This is entirely compatible with the structure and the mentality of the Chinese Communist Party. And Ben Shapiro is representing here contemporary conservatism. Wow.